Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody. It is really my privilege to moderate this panel with distinguished speakers. I went through their bios and they are all really outstanding. And I was asked to make a short introduction to the session. As we heard in this session, we are going to focus on culture as an agent for social and economic transformation from the perspective of national public intervention for culture. Our maybe too ambitious aim is to see at its end, on the basis of few examples, if national cultural policies are ready for future. The challenge is indeed enormous. Since the past 20 years, we were not at all so bad for culture sector. Therefore, we have all the reason to be concerned how to preserve a good legacy of previous decades reflected in, if I may put this way, distinctive European responsibility for culture. Let us take its quick overlook, also being from the beginning in very close relation to the European concept of national state or even part of it, cultural responsibility went through many different shifts of labels. It started from humanistic concept as arts policy. The first major policy shift was the shift from democratization of culture to cultural democracy. That is from policy aimed at giving ordinary people and periphery access to high culture, from this to more socially oriented policy that declared cultural diversity as the main political credo. Thatcherism introduced in European cultural policy culture industries discourse the new mercantile language, which was first adopted by Arts Council of England to impress politicians, especially ministers of finances, or to say with more colorful words, talking the only language that government understood, or with the words of Chris Smith, British Ministry of Culture in 1990s, to push the button that works. When information and communication technology emerged with unquestionable prestige, culture again recognized its momentum, and culture industries expanded to creative industries with the strong ICT dimension. All these shifts of labels are not neutral, but there are both theoretical and political stakes involved as they introduce their own cultural policy rationales. However, in the last 20 years, we have been witnessing a double agenda, one of politicians who wanted to make arts and culture less dependent of budgetary funds, and another of cultural lobby which did anything in its power to preserve and protect the legitimacy of public funding of arts and culture. The short study we made for European Commission a few weeks ago, it calls Trends in Public Funding of Culture in EU Member States. This short study shows that the latter, so the cultural lobby, was more successful, at least until 2010, as public funds have been permanently increasing. Is this an evidence of supply-driven cultural production resulted in oversupply, which is not sustainable anymore? Why then we don't focus on culture policy itself and tackle the problem of finding the new balance between supply-driven and demand-driven culture production? Especially because in 2010, the budgetary trends changed its directions and there is a decrease in EU member states, sometimes even bigger than the decrease of overall public expenses. Does it mean that creative industries' rhetoric does not work anymore? Or this is only the problem how to offer more evidence of economic power of culture? Is culture becoming a victim of its own attempt to switch the mercantile language? Now when arts and culture are left from European Strategy 2020, after being already there in Lisbon Strategy, we might reopen discussion and try to develop another language that would rediscover public value of culture. Is this new language of horizontal value of culture another attempt of the same kind to impress politicians and ministries of finance? How can the sector be assured that going horizontal in the EU 2020 strategy and programming of the structural assistance for 2014 to 2020 is a winning strategy and will not lead to the taking away of financial assistance, sometimes in close future? All these are very provocative questions, I know, but what I would like to make clear, and I have a feeling that today it was mentioned several times, is that it is not culture policy label that matters. Be it creative industries discourse or horizontal approach to culture, what really matters is to preserve the integrity of culture and its own logic, or let's use the words we heard today, intrinsic value of culture as essential for European cultural responsibility. So I would really like to hear what have our speakers to say about these many questions and dilemmas. So I would like to ask my colleague, Ragnar Seal from Estonia, to take the floor. A very interesting young person with extensive experiences in civil service, servant career, holding a lot of important positions and really expert of culture and creative industries. So, please.